Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today it's the beginning of November, so we've had a busy October with many horror movies, but I thought I would do another Q&A video. I really like doing these videos, and so I usually do them at the beginning of the month. And so what I'm doing is I'm taking the questions from the last Q&A that I did and answering them in this video. So if you have another question or a comment, please leave that below and continue the questions and dialogue. I really appreciate all those questions. So I have my list of questions right here, and I've got some things to show as well. If you have an active YouTube channel, I will link your channel in the description below. If I make a mistake or anything, let me know if I've forgotten to add you. But this first question comes from Catriel Lopez. What's your favorite Ingrid Bergman movie? I think Casablanca is the easy answer, and for good reason, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't until I watched Notorious that I felt like I understood why she's so great. I really fell in love with her performance there. I would completely agree, and you're right, Casablanca is the easiest answer, but I've picked a couple of other ones. Well, one of them that you mentioned, which is Notorious, and this is the Criterion Collection edition of the movie, which I absolutely love, and I really do think it's one of her best performances. Of course, she's good in just about anything I see her in. Really amazing performer. One of the other performances I like is from this movie, Sidney Lumet film, Murder on the Orient Express. I really enjoyed her performance in this movie. And here's the front of the back of this film. This release could really use a Blu-ray edition as well, but for right now I have the DVD. Great question. The next question here is, are you a Herzog fan? I've only watched Aguirre, I believe that's how you pronounce it, and Nosferatu. Do you have any recommendations? I am a Herzog fan. I do. I'm loving his appearances in The Mandalorian, which just started with season 2, but he was in season 1. I haven't seen him yet in season 2. But I am a Herzog fan. I confess I haven't seen a lot of his films, but my favorite Herzog is more the documentary style things that he does. That's just, my preference at this point. And I really like Grizzly Man. I think that's one of his best films. I really enjoy that film. It's a great film if you haven't seen that movie. I don't have a copy of it, but it has been on streaming, I think, from time to time, and I really enjoy that movie. Another great question. Northern Lights said, great video again. I'm looking for a program that keeps track of your collection. What do you use? I think I answered this in the comments, but I wanted to answer it again here. Northern Lights, thanks so much for this question. The application I was referencing, which I think, again, as I answered in the comments, is this one here. It's the CLZ Movies. I'm just showing this on my iPad, which is for movie cataloging. And they have a number of applications, I think, for comic books and for music and things like that. I started using this, but I think there is a free version and then there's a paid version depending on how many movies you have. Personally, I still like Letterboxd for creating lists of my movies. I have a pretty good memory, so I pretty much know exactly what's in my collection. Again, I probably have between 1,500 and 2,000 titles, and I pretty much know what I have at this point. I've only made, I think, one mistake where I rebought a movie that I already had. So for the most part, if someone asks me, for example, do you have that movie? I'm pretty confident that I could answer that question without an app. So that's why I don't use an app right now. Maybe if my collection gets larger, I might start using an app. But for me, Letterboxd really works well. But again, great question. Andrew has asked, do you have a P.O. box and do you accept viewer mail? No, I don't have a P.O. box, and I guess I could accept viewer mail. If there's interest in that, let me know in the comments below, and that's something I might consider in the future. But at this point, I don't accept viewer mail other than questions and in these videos. Rob from the Movie Vault. Rob, hello. Thanks for this question, and I'll link your channel in the description below. The question is, do you have anything in your collection that you regret buying? This is one I really spent a long time thinking about, and my honest answer is no, I don't. I've gone through a couple of iterations with my collection, and I feel like I've moved a couple times, and so I've eliminated some media from my collection. At this point, I'm really happy with what I have. I don't really regret getting anything. The one thing I will say is that sometimes my timing is very bad when it comes to upgrading something that I have or purchasing a Blu-ray. So sometimes, as an example, what I'll do sometimes is I'll get a Blu-ray and then the 4K will come out the next week. And I just, for whatever reason, I didn't notice it. So those are some things that I regret doing, because I probably could have picked up the 4K for about the same price. So sometimes, again, when I'm upgrading things, or I might even get the DVD, and then I realize later that there's a Blu-ray out for it. So I just need to do a better job, I think, of just researching titles before I purchase them, seeing if there's a collector's edition out. As you know, I love extra features, so sometimes I'll get a regular edition of a movie and there's a special edition out someplace that I didn't have a chance to purchase. So that's something I'm working on. But that's a great question. So, and again, I gave it a lot of thought, because I really don't have any regrets. Obviously, we've all seen some bad movies, but even the bad movies, I love having them. And I don't really have a lot of movies at this point that I would consider, horrible movies. So most of them are very rewatchable. Joel says, my question for you is, what are your favorite book adaptations, and do you have some favorite authors? So obviously, if you've watched the channel before, you know Jaws is one of my favorite movies, and so that's one of the authors that I obviously like. Peter Benchley, which was a great adaptation, I felt like, for the Jaws movie. But I didn't include that one, since that's kind of a standard for me. This is one that I really enjoyed. Wild is an adaptation from an author, and I don't have Cheryl Strayed as the author here. This is a really good movie. If you haven't seen this one, I really enjoyed this one. My wife and I watched this, and we really enjoyed it. This one I think I've talked about on the channel before too. One of my favorite movies of 2020, First Cow, directed by Kelly Reichardt. But Kelly Reichardt regularly collaborates with an author by the name of Jonathan Raymond, so I particularly like his work. And he writes short stories and novels, but this happens to be based on a novel that he wrote, so I really enjoyed that. And as far as authors go, I read a lot of nonfiction. I read a lot of news. I read a lot of things online, and a lot of nonfiction. But I did pull a couple of things that I've been reading or that I'm interested in. One is I'm a big fan of David Sedaris, and so I have Theft by Finding. This was released a couple of years ago, and this is his book. And I like his lectures as well, or I don't know if you call them lectures, but he does readings and he does appearances and things like that. I haven't seen him live, but I really like his style, so I've listened to some of his audio or his reading of his books, so I really enjoy that. And then a recent book that I picked up is this one, Mary Oliver Devotions, and this just has shorter poems in it. I really like to pick this up during the day and just read a poem or two or something like that to get me some inspiration. So I really enjoy this book. This is a recent one that my wife and I picked up. So, but I pretty much reserve most of my time for watching movies or watching TV shows. But I will do some reading of nonfiction. At least that's what I've been reading most often. If you have some favorite authors that you want to recommend below, let me know in the comments below, and I will definitely check them out. But that's a great question. Dan asked, and I know Dan's a regular viewer of the channel, so thanks, Dan. Appreciate the answers. Love this series. Just have one question. What was the first movie you remember thinking, wow, this is special? For me, it was Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. I saw it in high school, and it forever changed me. Rented it from Blockbuster and must have watched it 3 or 4 times before returning it. I have to say that the most moving experience I think I had with a movie or series of movies in this particular case is the Ingmar Bergman set from Criterion, and I'm going to say the Faith trilogy. I love all of Bergman films, but the Faith trilogy in particular, I thought these films are very, very special. And so I'm talking about, when I say the Faith trilogy, I'm talking about Winterlight, The Silence, and Through a Glass Darkly. Those 3 films, I would say, very much moved me and was an entry point into Bergman's work for me. Many people will start with something like The Seventh Seal or Wild Strawberries as an example, but the Faith trilogy really engaged me, and I was really moved by it. And I truly said, wow, this is a special director, and these are some special films. So if you haven't seen the Faith trilogy, highly recommend that. Any of the Bergman films, of course. I was really enchanted with the Bergman filmography after that point and just went through all of his films. The final question, and this came from a live stream, but I thought I'd just answer it here, is can you show the box sets on the top of your shelves? And I will say, yes, I will do that. I will have a video up probably this month on the box sets on top of my shelves. I think there was someone in the live stream that I did with my Criterion collection that saw the top of the shelves and asked if I could do a video on that. I will absolutely do that. And I have some new shelves. I actually have 3 new shelves this year, and I've really organized my collection. So I'll show you exactly what's on top in terms of the box sets that I have. So that is it for the questions. Thanks so much for asking these questions. I really enjoy this particular feature. So if you have questions for next month, leave me a question or a comment below. I'd be happy to answer those. And again, I so appreciate it. If you like this video, click on like. Let me know that you like these types of videos, and I'll be happy to do some more of them. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe. I'd really appreciate that. I sincerely hope that everyone is safe and well, and I'll talk to you soon.